Hey guys, today we're going to refresh ourselves on the quadratic formula and the discriminant. So you'll see here on this slide that the quadratic formula is x equals negative b plus minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all of this divided by 2a. And I'm going to show you how I'm going to do a lot of this on my calculator, but not all of it. So the objective for today is to be able to solve quadratic equations using the quadratic formula and find the number of solutions of a quadratic equation. Let's dive right in. To use the quadratic formula, the equations must be in descending order and equal to 0. This is also known as standard form, which you see down here at the bottom. Descending order means this is x squared, then x, then no x's. So that's descending order, and it needs to be equal to 0. All quadratic equations can be written in this form where a, b, and c are constants, and a cannot be 0. Let's use the quadratic formula to solve. To understand the quadratic formula, we have to remember that the standard form of the quadratic equation is this, ax squared plus bx plus c. And basically, if I do some really fun algebra, I can rearrange these terms and I get this formula down here at the bottom. So that's why this works in all these cases. So, first thing you need to know is you need to know how to line up A, B, and C. Let me make sure that everybody understands what A is. A is the number in front of x squared, so in this case it's 1. B is the number in front of x, so in this case it's 5. And C is the number that trails at the end, in this case it's 6. So A equals 1, B equals 5, and C equals 6. So you can't really do the quadratic formula if you can't pick out A, B, and C. So hopefully that made sense. Next, let's look at how this works. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to list out A, B, and C. So A is 1, B is 5, and C is 6. So the first thing I would like to see on your paper is your substitution. So this is negative b. So if I put a 5 in there, I get negative 5 plus minus the square root of b squared. 5 times 5 is 25 minus 4 times a times c. All of this has to be divided by 2 times a, and a is 1, so 2 times 1 is 2. So then I will simplify from here, and I'm going to do most of this on my calculator. So let me pull that up. So, taking a look at this again, I'm going to say that a is 1, so I'm going to do 1 store alpha a. I'm going to do 5 store alpha b. And I'm going to do 6 store alpha c. So I'm going to store the values for the variables. The first thing I'm going to type in is I'm going to type in what's underneath my radical. So I'm going to type in b squared minus 4ac. So I get 1. So back here in my presentation, I would have negative 5 plus minus the square root of 1 over 2. I know the square root of 1 is 1, so this is going to get me negative 5 plus minus 1 over 2, and this is where it splits up into my two solutions. I get negative 5 plus 1 over 2, and I get negative 5 minus 1 over 2. So I just keep going from here. Negative 5 plus 1 is negative 4. Negative 5 minus 1 is negative 6. And so my answers are negative 2 and negative 3. So that's how you can use the quadratic formula to solve a quadratic equation. Just pick out your A, B, and C, plug them into the formula, work it out, and you'll eventually be done. So let's look at another example. In this case, A is 4, B is 7, and C is negative 15. So I'm going to pull back up my calculator, and I'm going to clear all this out and say that 4 store alpha A. Then I'm going to try to use colon so I don't have to enter so many times. Colon, this should allow me to type in multiple things at the same time. Alpha B. If you can't see how I'm getting to colon, it's down here above the decimal, so I'm hitting alpha decimal. And then I'm going to do -15 store C. So I'm attempting to store all my variables all at the same time. So let's see what happens. If I type in A, I get 4. If I type in B, I get 7. And if I type in C, I get -15. Awesome, so that worked. So now I'm going to type in B squared. And actually, I don't need to type that in. I need to hit second enter. Keep repeating second enter until I get back to where I want to be. B squared minus 4AC. Awesome. So I'm going to type that in, and I get 289. So I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint, and I get x equals negative b, which is -7, plus minus the square root of 289. All that over 2 times 4, which is 8. I'm going to go back to my calculator and see if I can figure out what the square root of 289 is. Oh, luckily that's a perfect square, and I get 17. So this gets me -7 plus minus 17 over 8. I get my two solutions from here. -7 plus 17 over 8. -7 minus 17 over 8. And this is going to get me 10 over 8, which is going to reduce down to 5 over 4. There's one answer. And this is going to get me -24 over 8, which is going to simplify down to -3. Okay, so there's another example of how you use quadratic formula to solve a quadratic equation. Another example, I'm going to type or write down my A, B, and C. A is 4, B is -8, C is 3. I'm actually glad that B is negative in this case because I want you to see something in a second, but I'm going to go back to my calculator and do what I did before. Clear all this out, type in 4 store alpha A, alpha decimal for my colon, -8 store alpha B, and then I'm going to type in my colon, and then 3 store alpha C. Enter. Hit second enter, and then one more time I should get my B squared minus 4AC, and I do, so it's 16. So a second ago I said I was very glad that B was negative in this case, and you're going to see why here in about 2 seconds. What's important is you understand that this is negative B in the formula, so if I take a negative number and plug it into a negative variable, I get a positive. So that's just 8 plus minus the square root of 16, all that over 2 times 4, which is 8. So this is going to be 8 plus minus 4 over 8, and I get my two solutions from here. I have 8 plus 4 over 8, which is 12 over 8, which is 3/2. And then I have 8 minus 4 over 8, which is 4 over 8, which is 1/2. So there are my two solutions to that one. So again, there's another example of how you can use the quadratic equation to solve a quadratic formula to solve a quadratic equation. Let's work this one. Now what I like about this example is you start out with a term on the wrong side of the equal sign. So the first thing I need to do is I need to get everything to the correct side. So I'm going to bring the 11 over and add it. Now I'm going to write down my A, my B, and my C. So I'm going to go to my calculator. I'm going to do 1 store A, 3 store B, and 11 store C. Now I'm going to pull out my b squared minus 4ac by hitting enter, second enter until it pops up. There it is. And I get negative 35. That's interesting. First time we've run into a negative. So this is going to get me x equals negative 3 plus minus the square root of negative 35 all over 2. Now, haven't dealt with the negative square root yet, but since we just learned about complex numbers yesterday, we should know how to deal with this. I'm going to take the negative out and put an I out front. I'm going to break down 35 and see what happens. So over here on my scratch paper, that's 5 times 7, so I can't simplify 35 any. So this just becomes negative 3 plus minus I on the square root of 35. All of that divided by 2. So this doesn't simplify very pretty, and that's okay. They're not all going to simplify, so this one doesn't. So there's another example of how you can use the quadratic formula to solve a quadratic equation, and this one actually turns out nice and ugly. So I'm glad you guys got to see an example like that. So now what I would like you to do is I would like you to try this example, and then basically just pause the video, work this one out on your own, see what happens, and then watch me work it so you can see what you should have gotten. So at this time, pause the video, work this one real quick, and then wait and see if you got the right answer. Alright, so hopefully you got A is 2, B is negative 5, and C is negative 3. So pulling up the calculator, I'm going to do 2 store A, negative 5 store B, and negative 3 store C. And then I'm going to pull up my b squared minus 4ac, and I get 49. So this is going to get me equals 5 plus the square root of 49, all that over 2 times 2, which is 4. So this is going to get me 5 plus minus 7 over 4, which I get my two solutions from here. 5 plus 7 over 4, 5 minus 7 over 4. This works out to be 12 over 4, which is 3. And this works out to be negative 2 over 4, which is negative 1/2. So hopefully you got 3 and negative 1/2. If you got negative 0.5, that's fine. That's the same thing as 1/2. So we should be good now at solving quadratic equations with the quadratic formula. Now let's look at the discriminant. The discriminant is actually the part b squared minus 4ac that I've been typing into my calculator. And what you can tell about the discriminant is if it has 2 real solutions, 1 real solution, or no real solutions. So ultimately, what we want to do is we want to be able to take an example like this. We want to take an example like here, and decide before we even work it how many real solutions it's going to have. So let me show you how to do that. It's really less work than what we've just been doing because it's a part of it. So first I would get everything to one side. 2x squared minus 3x, I'm going to say plus 5 equals 0 because I pulled the 5 over. A is 2, B is negative 3, and C is 5. So I'm going to do with my calculator what I've been doing. I'm going to say that 2 store A and negative 3 store B, and last but not least 5 store C. Now I'm going to pull up b squared minus 4ac by hitting second enter until it pops back up, and I get negative 31. Okay, so in this case b squared minus 4ac equals negative 31. Now I honestly don't care too much about the number. I really don't care that it's 31. I care if it's positive, negative, or 0. And this one turns out to be negative. So negative means there are no real solutions. Okay, so a negative means there are no real solutions. Let's look at the next example. 6x squared minus 5x equals 7. So first thing I'm going to do is rewrite it as 6x squared minus 5x minus 7 equals 0. A is 6, B is negative 5, and C is negative 7. So I'm going to pull up my calculator, throw those in. 6 store A colon negative 5 store B, another colon, and 7 store I'm sorry, let me go back and make that negative 7. Negative 7 store C. So I've got everything stored. Now I'm going to hit second enter a couple times to pull back up my b squared minus 4ac, and I get 193. So in this example, b squared minus 4ac equals 193. I don't really care about the 193. I care that it's positive. And positive means 2 real solutions. Okay, so you've seen negative, you've seen positive. The third and final case would be if b squared minus 4ac equals 0, which is actually summed up quite nicely in this table. If b squared minus 4ac is greater than 0, basically this just means if b squared minus 4ac is positive, you're going to get 2 real numbered solutions. If b squared minus 4ac is 0, you're going to get 1 real number solution. And if b squared minus 4ac is negative, you're going to get no real numbered solutions. So you saw a negative case, and you saw a positive case, but you did not see one of these. So if it comes out to be 0, this is what you put. Okay, so that's basically how you work with the quadratic formula to solve quadratic equations, and how you can use the discriminant to determine how many real roots you have. So good luck with the work, and I'll see you guys soon.